Question 1. The beginning of my film goes along with the institutional conventions associated with films, and in particular along with thriller films. I have a logo for a made-up production company at the start and the title of the film. It then gets into the movie. The first shot I have is a following the convention, starting the film slow, like in Sunshine shown here.
Filter the observation room portal.
Filter up or down, Dr. Searle?
Down. Hey Chris, how close is this to...
This film really influenced me for creating these opening shots. But then I go straight into a fast-paced scene, which usually goes against the convention of thriller films, where most typical thriller films have a slow start for about 5 minutes. Most thrillers are set in a familiar setting, especially in modern times, so I set mine in modern times so the audience can really connect with my film. My conventions of narrative were not the usual convention of films. I employed a fabula Shazette form of narrative, having two storylines, one being flashback of events, as one of the main characters being killed at the beginning of the film, along with the other storyline, like in Memento, shown here. This also emphasises the main character, Jack, being in both storylines, so the audience can identify that he is the main character. And one of the last conventions of the film is having a soundtrack, which I didn't really employ, but had parts of the song Retrograde by James Blake. At the end of the film opening, for a dramatic effect, I tried to see how it would go with the entire film, but decided to only use it for the end scene. I also used an eerie sound for the interrogation for a scary fear effect. Question 2. Gender is largely represented in my film opening. The entire piece represents that males are typically stronger than women, and that women need the help of males, because the girl in my film opening needs the help of the main character, Jack, who is the male role. However, in the film, due to only a single female character and 3 male characters, the opening represents that some men are good and some men are bad characters, but all girls are good, due to there only being one. To an extent though, as we're not totally sure in this short period if the girl is morally good or bad, or if it's a good person or a good character shooting her. I use young actors in my film to representing the younger age, because a major part of my target audience is people like those in the film, but also the film is directed at young adults. No real social class is portrayed in this film opening. Characters could be seen as a middle social class, just basically a typical English person, following clothing and action stereotypes. I have followed the stereotype of bad characters by having them dress in dark clothing, and the good characters in bright colours. Then the bad characters would act as bad characters would do, stereotypically. Also, using camera angles represent some of the characters. A use of low-angle shot at the beginning of the running scene to show Jack's strength and how of a large character he is, and a high-angle shot as he is running to give off the impression that he is running a far long distance. But also the angle shot in this interrogation scene to show here shows how Jack is weak. Question 3. My film is a thriller genre film, having the fear, adventure, drama and action that is usually conveyed in a typical thriller film. I think my film suits a category of a small budget film, so it only require a small production studio. Also being a British film, it may also get funding from the British Film Council. Vertigo Films, a small British film production distribution company based in England, is a very typical and very useful production company, and I think it would suit mine perfectly, as it has produced films like Bronson and Monsters, which are both thriller films. Question 4. My main audience would really be a British audience, but other nationalities could also be interested in watching my film. Primarily, the age of the audience would be over 15, but I'd target the audience at a young to middle-aged adult audience. Both men and women would enjoy the film, and it would probably be aimed at people who have interest in thriller films, the thriller genre, and who also enjoy these small independent films like mine. Question 6. The production will really help me learn about the new technologies in processing this product, the film. Programs I've used were basically Premiere Pro, Audition, Photoshop, and After Effects. Premiere Pro helped me especially with the production, being it the program we use to edit and alter the film sound. Premiere Pro, I use color correction, where I use RGB curves and saturation to change the color in the film footage. Premiere Pro, I also edited some sound effects, volume, pitch and length. Recording sounds, I used microphones and recorders. Photoshop, I used primarily to produce the logo, using the magic tool to cut out, using a picture I found online. I'd used After Effects to cut out a part of me to make the room look bigger for the interrogation scenes. Cameras, I developed a skill using in before work with the pre-production practice. I got comfortable with using shutter speed, exposure, choice of angles and white balance. And set up the studio. We had a spotlight to show one area of me, and there was a blackout in the interrogation scene. Question 7. The main difference between the preliminary task and my actual production was the better camera work I found. We had different angles employed, and it was a lot more change in development from the first piece I did. But also one of the main differences between the preliminary task and the actual production was having this post-production editing process, where I could alter the narrative, have scenes in different orders, and also have this colour correction process and footage editing. Also, I had this audience research available to me, which I couldn't have really to the preliminary task, so I was able to have this and match my film to this thesis.